Welcome to this first special edition episode of the P2P Connects Us podcast. I'm going to be sharing with you one of the first podcasts that ever got me hooked on Bitcoin. And when you hear the excitement in the voices of the podcast hosts, you'll understand why I became so fascinated with this exciting technology. Listen out for a familiar voice from the Let's Talk Bitcoin network. Enjoy the show.
You're listening to episode 1 of Coinbase. Today is Friday, September 2nd, 2011. On today's show,
the real money update,
Mt. Gox's new currency strategy,
the latest and greatest in mining technology,
the ongoing MyBitcoin.com debacle,
a savior appears, open source solutions.
All this and more. I'm Indy.
And I'm Hero. Welcome to Coinbase, a weekly expedition into the world of Bitcoin and the future of money. Indy, start taking a look at the market here. Current price of Bitcoin at Mt. Gox is 8.47 and TradeHill 8.45 in dollars. The total Bitcoin in circulation is 7,182,200, and the average Bitcoin cent per hour is 9,580 Bitcoin. Gold is up 1,872, nearly a $30 spike from early this morning, and we have silver at 42.90.
That's not bad.
Yeah. What happened there with the gold?
Well, I mean, just everything's happening right now with gold. I think we're going to talk more about this on the Agorist show, or the Agorist Social Club show. But yeah, I mean, gold's absolutely taken off right now. It's a thing. If I don't know, I moved some of my silver over back into gold again because I think that's going to be the next leg up on this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
Well, wow.
So
more and more people are talking about real money.
Yeah. Absolutely. That is what we're seeing, though, is that, is the real money thing is starting to come around, and I'm very excited for the future of gold. So our next topic and our first discussion topic for today's episode is Mt. Gox's new currency strategy. And basically, what the deal is with this is Mt. Gox is the largest Bitcoin exchange, as most people know. They control about 80% of the market last time I checked. A problem that they've had is that they've only accepted a couple of different types of currencies. So if you wanted to trade in other currencies, you had to go to other markets like TradeHill. That's the big niche that they put together. But with this new rollout from Mt. Gox, they're accepting 15 new currencies, from the euro to Canadian dollar, British pound, Swiss franc, Russian ruble, Australian dollar, Swedish krona, Danish krona, Hong Kong dollars, Polish. Well, how the hell do you say that? ZLOTY. I'm actually not familiar with that one. Chinese yuan, Singapore dollars, Thai baht, New Zealand dollars, and the Japanese yen. But unlike what TradeHill does, and this is why I wanted to talk about this, so the way that TradeHill does their currency markets is each currency has its own market. And so in order to, like, if you have Hong Kong dollars, you have to find someone who has Bitcoin and has an open order wanting to sell Bitcoin for Hong Kong dollars. That's the only way that you can make that deal. So it makes for really uneven markets. That's what I discovered when I was working with Liberty Reserve over there, is that at TradeHill, is that Liberty Reserve, the market size there, even though it's a dollar-denominated currency, is about maybe 5% of the money changers or the money bookers. I forget what the other one that they use is called. So it's oftentimes you'll get really different prices in the one. But what Mt. Gox has done is they've essentially put all of these currencies together into one big market where they act as the market maker for everything and will accept any type of currency in exchange for Bitcoins. But so they try to match you up with somebody, but you still get access to the whole market, even if you're using an incredibly obscure currency. So I think that's a really big deal for our non-US listeners.
Okay, is this a many-to-many currency? I mean, can you trade Mt. Gox? Can you trade euro for the Hong Kong dollars? Or
I don't think so. No, I think that this is they're using Bitcoin as the arbitrage. And now certainly that's something they could expand to, though. I mean, if they're going into Bitcoin, then there's no reason they couldn't just go the other way.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious how they were doing that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's the story there. So I'm really interested to see. Mt. Gox seems like they're doing the right thing and taking as much of a lead as they can. They had some stumbling blocks initially with the security breaches, But it's things like this where this is a pretty innovative application actually. I don't think I've seen something like this before. And at the same time they've got the open source point of sale stuff that they're working on. And it's just all very exciting. So
Yeah. Well, one thing we noticed on the markets with the volume that's being traded on MT Gox versus Trade Hill is quite staggering, because I figured after MT Gox had their hack debacle I figured they were toast, and then and Trade Hill jumps up with this really nice website, and it looked like they were just going to take over. And in the past 24 hours, the volume on Trade Hill was at 2,152 trades. In the past 24 hours, only 2,000 trades. On MT Gox, they're at 12,142.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, no, I expected really the same thing to happen, but what it seems to me that did happen is that even though Trade Hill came out, at the time that Trade Hill launched, so many people had their bitcoins and their currency locked into the Mt. Gox system because they basically just shut down for a week and a half.
Yeah.
That there wasn't any way for that sort of rush to happen. So certainly it could have happened after they finally released the money, and said, okay, well, here's the money. But at that point, they were still the biggest and they were still the most popular exchange around. So it didn't really make sense to leave unless everybody else was already leaving, and it just seemed like the rush never happened.
Yeah, and with that type of volume, if you're into trading, you want to be in the market with
exactly
one you can. Now, another thing to put that in perspective is the volume in the past 24 hours is 12,142 on MT Gox, but the actual number that's the number that's the number of that's not the number of bitcoins that were exchanged. Is that
right? That's the number of transactions, right?
Yeah. So I'm not sure what the true volume on that, because the number of transactions, like we covered it at the beginning of the hour, in the past 24 hours, the number of transactions on the blockchain itself are 6,666, and the number of bitcoins sent exchanged were 229,000. So that's there's I would have to. Is there
229,000? Huh. Okay, well, maybe that is transaction, or maybe that is number of coins then. In which case, that would imply that, well, if that's the case, that would imply that most of the market actually isn't on the exchanges at all, and rather is being done in dark exchanges.
Yeah, or
at least ones we're not looking at.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you want to talk to us about the mining technology?
Oh, yeah. Let's see. There's a lot of people have been looking at getting mining rigs that have an edge, and they've been focusing on just finding on Newegg and other places the latest mining cards with the greatest number of mega hashes at the lowest price. And there's technology out there called FGPA, and it's basically a particular type of chip technology that is only used for very specific applications, and which you can write an application on the chip that screams along at lightning speed faster than any known regular ASIC chip that people have in their, like your Pentium chips or whatever. Anyway, so these guys have this board out. It was a post up on Hackaday, and the board requires only 6.8 watts of power for 100 mega hashes a second. And the team expects to hit 150 to 200 mega hashes in the future with some improvement. They only have 4 of these boards, and they've sold out. But the second generation units that they're working on are priced at $420 for a single FGPA and $620 for a dual FPGA. So for those of you out there that are interested in the mining thing, several companies are working on these things, and it's something to watch because the amount of power. I mean, one of the big issues here is 6.8 watts of power for the mining board, and right now at this point, the mining market, if all technology, if you say all things are equal and stayed as they were, you're looking at people who live in universities or government buildings actually having the edge on a mining profit because of them either stealing or just using what they have as free power for where they're at. Anyone who has the ability to get free power, the people were talking about how these are the guys that are actually going to wind up to be the miners because the power cost for running these rigs is so high. I mean, you can have you can heat your house with several of these rigs set up, the amount of heat that they put out. So, and that, I mean, they put out the heat because of the amount of electricity that they're burning up. So to get your power level down to 6.8 watts, it's not so important that, I mean, that's where your mining rig is, because a lot of people are actually placing their mining rigs in countries and cities where the power is either very low or it's because of the abundancy of power or because of government subsidy on the power system. So check out FPGA mining hardware and ASIC, ASIC mining hardware that people are talking about, and it could make a big difference and turn the entire mining systems upside down.
Yep, it could do that, or it could just price out the little guy. I mean, that's what the more mining innovations we look at, the way the Bitcoin system is set up, I mean, it just seems like the diminishing returns just get worse and worse.
Yeah. There are so many people jumping out that I know that were in it, and they're jumping out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's an arms race basically. I mean, you're talking about this is the closest recreation I've seen to the Cold War, in quite some time, where you're just trying to build up power, more power than the other guy has, because the more power that you accumulate, the less power that they have relatively. It's from a finite pool. So yeah, I understand why they would only sell 4 of these chips. If it was me, then I would I would make 100 of the chips. Sell 4 of them, sell 10 of them, whatever, and just use them myself until some competitor comes out with theirs, and then I would sell them into the market.
Yeah.
But you would want to have it. It's like new money. You'd want to have access to it first.
Yeah. It'll be fun to watch.
It will be fun to watch. And what we're watching here is the free market trying to find some sort of real equilibrium. And because so few things are profitable, and because this is profitable with such a low barrier to entry, or at least it used to have a low barrier to entry, it's just you're right. It's fascinating to watch. I'm very interested to see how this goes, because I really think that you're right. We're going to wind up with having a reasonably small amount of people centralized with this, unless we come up with some sort of really cheap modular solution that can just have a lot of power in it, and where you can upgrade it easily, and it doesn't cost you so much money. Because otherwise, I mean, good lord, can't do it as an individual.
No.
Yeah. So, but the but the hardware manufacturing game, that. I just wonder how long that's going to last. I mean, do you think that's going to, a year from now, do you think we're still going to be talking about mining innovations, or do you think it'll just be all over?
Oh, no, there's no end to this. There's no end, because it's all about solving particular mathematical problems that are very well established as to what they are, what their constraints and what their goals are. And if you, as long as Bitcoin has value to certain people, and they're willing to exchange real money, other alternative money or goods or services for it, if you can get it out of the ground, then you can throw it out into the market and gain from it. So sure. I think that the analogy is almost perfect to gold mining. I mean, these gold miners, they come up with new technology all the time for processing the gold, for getting the ore out of the ground, for extracting it from other materials, and there's no end. I see no end in sight as long as sure. Bitcoin has any value on any market.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. One last point on this, because I did have a question, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. So FP stands for floating point, right? So these are basically just graphics cards, the ones you're talking about, not the ASICs, which are application-specific cards. But the FPGA, you said?
Yeah, field programmable gate array is what it's called.
Field programmable gate array. Okay, I was thinking that it was some floating point calculator, basically. So is that different? Are these not graphics cards that just have the 3D generation turned off?
No, FPGA, not to get too technical about it, and not that I could get that technical about it, but FPGAs are normally what you can do with it's think of it as a chip that is programmable. but
Okay.
you can't. It's not multiple. It's not multiple use like a regular Intel chip or something is something that you throw software at, you can run software on it and it does all kinds of. It's a multi-use, multi-general purpose use chip.
Right.
But the FPGA, it's sort of like if you had a computer program on your computer, you could take that. Imagine taking that program and putting it on the FPGA, and that's all it does. It
Right.
just runs a particular program, and what it does is, in the way that it can do it, it runs it. It can, depending on what kind of problem that you're solving, it can run it orders of magnitude faster than any known, depending on the chips, of course, but of
Right.
any modern computer chip. So they've normally just do FPGAs for very specific applications, and those things usually don't have a mass market. So they're not as popular to just be thrown in general purpose use computers. So
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, just specific. I
Yeah.
gotcha. So so I guess the next topic on our list is this is the My Bitcoin and the Buttcoin stuff and the Bruce Wagner stuff. So shall we talk about that?
yeah, well, you wanted to give just a really quick overview on
Yeah.
what the issue is here, and then we'll address that.
Yeah. Okay. So basically probably the biggest scandal within the Bitcoin community over the last month or so, I guess it's been a little bit longer than that now, has been the issue with mybitcoin.com, which has been sort of the longest running e-wallet for Bitcoin pretty much since the currency came out. And so what happened is they were supposedly hacked and lost 51% of the coins they were storing, which was several $100,000 worth of coins at the time, and then disappeared for a week, and then came back and said that they had been hacked and that they would refund 50%. So the reason why we're talking about it right now is because the Bitcoin community, specifically on the forums, but also on the Reddit and other places, has started kind of going crazy about saying that Bruce Wagner, the host of Only One TV and the organizer of the Bitcoin conference, or the first Bitcoin conference in Manhattan, is responsible or in some way benefiting or in something like that. And Hero, we were talking about this the other day, and it seems like that's probably not the case based on some inside knowledge.
Yeah, there's two things I can say about this is the operators of My Bitcoin and people who have been involved with it since its inception have absolutely nothing to do in any shape or form of a relationship with Bruce Wagner. I know that because I know several of the people who have been involved with that, and some of them I've known for many years and have worked with them, and these guys are completely separate operations. So the linking together, one of the things they brought up was Tom Williams, which I don't know this Tom Williams was working with the My Bitcoin system. He has a name that's similar to someone who was involved with something with Bruce, who's a guy named Todd Williams, and they're trying to link something. It's a complete coincidence. These guys have no link together. And I guess there was hosting at Arvixe hosting system that both of them had stuff at Arvixe. Okay, I know a lot of people who have stuff at Arvixe, and so just because there's a link between the two doesn't mean it's all a coincidence on that. And also back to the accusation originally that Bruce was one of the big guys throwing out to My Bitcoin is that My Bitcoin basically stole the money and said that they've been hacked. Okay, again, I said I know some of the guys at My Bitcoin, and I really don't think that is the case at all. I know a lot of their philosophical and moral values, and these guys are not any form of scammers. They're more interested in liberty and true real money. From Occam Razor's standpoint, if you look at the accusation of them being hacked, I personally wasn't surprised when I found out that they were hacked, because if I was a hacker and I was looking at some mother lode online to walk away with, better than any bank to attack and doing some wire transfers and all that. Right now, one of the best systems one of the best things to get a hold of is a nice, big, fat Bitcoin wallet. And a lot of these systems have been shown, like not Trade Hill, but MT Gox and a couple other people who have had massive amounts of Bitcoin either hacked or attempt to be hacked. A lot of these guys are storing a lot of the stuff in the same wallet. And so these guys know that there's a computer sitting out there with a single wallet, and if they get in there and they get that, they hit a little button, and that money is theirs. And from then on, they got it. And they also know that the person who got it stolen from has no type of they have no ability to deny that they didn't steal it themselves. That's just the way that the system works. It's like when a lot of cash is stolen in the mafia by some guy who's a lower rank in the system. He can sit there and say, well, somebody stole it, but how do we know that somebody stole it and you didn't steal it yourself? Because it's cash. There's no like real paper trail. So it's one of the issues in the system. So my Bitcoin was one, if not the number one target on the internet for a hacker to get into and try to take money from, because they had thousands, if not tens of thousands, I don't know the exact number of accounts that they had there, and they were taking care of a massive number, a large percentage, I don't know the exact number, but a large percentage of the number of Bitcoin transactions that were happening on within the entire Bitcoin system itself were happening within my Bitcoin. And no one knows publicly how much those were, because remember, when you see the number of transactions on the exchanges, that is sort of those are transactions that are happening outside of the blockchain. And you mentioned earlier they're sort of what'd you say, dark? What was the term you used?
Dark exchanges.
Yeah, they're kind of dark exchanges, not so dark because they are publicly publishing the exchanges, but these things are happening off the record of the blockchain. So when you go and you see the number of transactions in the last 24 hours were 6,666, that's exchanges that happened actually on the blockchain itself, not the stuff that's happening within the dark exchanges. And the My Bitcoin exchanges that were happening between the individuals in there, no one knows.
Is that true though? I'm not sure that's true. I thought that the thing we don't know about about the stuff that happens off of the main exchanges is we don't know what price somebody got for it. So we don't know we don't know what currency they transacted for it in, and we don't know what price they paid per Bitcoin. But we can see every Bitcoin transfer, right?
Well, no. It depends on how the system is set up. If you had a market, okay, and in that market you did not have your own, where everyone did not get a house account, in that market when you actually deposited your money into the, let's say it's called yourbitcoin.com, if you deposited it into yourbitcoin.com and their system was set up so that they actually created you they created a new separate Bitcoin
But you're talking about
account.
Within the wallet service. You're talking about transactions within the wallet. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is that you can have an exchange network or a banking system that is made up of Bitcoin where you actually do not hold everything inside of one big house account. What you could do is give every single user a separate account that actually was within the Bitcoin system. Then every transaction that would be taking place could be tracked and monitored outside of the system. But that's not how most of these systems are set up. Most of these systems are just some guy goes out there, he sets up some PHP website, and he tells everyone to pay to these particular accounts. It's usually like a house account or sub-account, and they hold large amounts of money within this large account. It depends on how they do their accounting, because sometimes some people will give you, like if you want to deposit into your Bitcoin, and I'm running it, and I say to you, okay, send your Bitcoin money to this specific new Bitcoin ID, and then when you send it to that, I have a record that if money comes into this ID, it's for your username, and I give you credit. And then what a lot of them do is they do sweeps, and at that point, they take that money from all those little temporary accounts that they made for making the transactions, and they put that money into the house Bitcoin account. So my Bitcoin or Trade Hill or MT Gox may have 1, 2, or 3 very massively large house accounts. And then the dark trading happens inside of their PHP application within the MySQL database. And then when you want to actually do a withdrawal, then they go ahead and take out of Big House account and throw it into your throw it back at your ID. So as long as everything is in that pooled, that's the word I should have used earlier. That one, usually they have the pooled accounts of their own that you don't see the transactions that are happening until someone does an exchange in or an exchange out. So yeah, there's a lot of activity happening that can't be seen unless they publicly show their volume.
So at that point, it's basically like a bank transacting with, two customers that operate at the same. So functionally, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, ledger entries, right?
Yes.
Rather than okay, I understand what you're saying. Yeah. There are actually what I was actually talking about though is like oh gosh, there's a guy named Bitcoin Morpheus. Or Morpheus, who has been running and has been developing a open source decentralized dark exchange, where literally it is just an anonymized matchmaking person-to-person Bitcoin trading thing for currencies, rather for various currencies. And so those it doesn't report the price or anything, so you can do very large transactions without impacting the market there, where you're actually buying for say dollars or rubles or whatever. But what you're talking about is more like interbank transfers from account to account.
Yeah. It's important to understand that because that's one of the reasons for having these. You could do an anonymous system where you're actually doing this big mix net where you're screwing around with the actual blockchain transactions between different pools, so that if anyone is actually monitoring the blockchain, they get confused as to who's doing what, but they still see all this activity happening. Whereas with the actual dark exchanges themselves, they don't see anything until someone makes a move in or out of the subsystems. And we're going to see a lot of that happening as open transaction systems start coming more online.
I was just going to ask about that.
Yeah. Actually, we should head right into that because that is the one of the problems with the hacks of these systems is you have a centralized system where if someone hacks into, they can make false transactions. They can say that they there's a lot of things that they can do within the system to game that ledger system internally and then withdraw and do fraudulent actions in order to steal Bitcoin. Now, when they steal the Bitcoin, a lot of times, like I said, there's a lot of issues where you don't have your deniability at all that you were not the person that actually did it. So many hacks actually look very legitimate and there's no way to prove it. So one of those projects that everyone's been watching for Bitcoin and actually digital cash as a whole, because this is not a Bitcoin-centric system, is open transactions done by a fellow traveler. And not to get into his entire systems, but he has this new setup of federated and decentralized servers so that you can spread Bitcoin transactions and deposits and withdrawals over a pool of servers. And this is not a pool of servers that are set up like a cluster that's run by a single individual, but we're talking about servers that are operated by different people. So I want to read just one little clip here, because when you see the hacks that are happening so far against everybody who has had their system hacked as a business or as an individual of a wallet, and remember, they're talking about actually being able to put your wallet into this system. So think of it as a distributed, federated cloud by multiple people. And let me read this, and you'll see how it can help this single server hack problem. The vision is not of a central server you must trust. Rather, the vision is of federated servers you don't have to trust. My goal with open transactions is for the servers to be able to run on anonymous networks. For this to work, that means the users must be able to trust the system even if they do not trust the servers. We must have low-trust servers, and that is what I have been working towards. The combination of low-trust technology with untraceable cache is what will make it possible to run OT servers on anonymous networks at a profit. The same will be true with Bitcoin. I have been cooperating with central Bitcoin developers on a new mechanism to allow users to bail their Bitcoins in and out of OT servers without having to trust the server itself. That is, even if the server tried to disappear with your Bitcoin, it would not be able to. The next generation of Bitcoin and OT will have this capability. The new BTC protocol hasn't been added to OT yet, but is coming soon. Woe to anyone building a Bitcoin website that doesn't have this capability, because soon your OT-enabled competitors will eat your lunch.
I like Fellow Traveler a lot.
Yeah. Oh, he's awesome. So we're not talking about an add-on here to, like, it's just something that you can do. I think that from what I've seen from this looks like it's going to be put into some of the tied in, if not fully part of. It's going to be very heavily integrated into the entire Bitcoin software itself, the way that I see it, because this just makes even having your own wallet. I mean, when this stuff is up, I won't want to have my own wallet on my own computer. I would want to throw it out, because let's just say that if MT Gox was running this system with the federated thing, when you go to make a transaction and if someone breaks into some server and tries to steal your Bitcoin, they can't, because they're going to have to, like, if you have your Bitcoin set up to be on 10 federated servers, they're going to have to break into like 8 or 9 of those servers and request a particular transaction that all of them agree on is legit, and then the transaction goes through. So you're talking about quite a feat here, rather than looking for some exploit in some MySQL database for a PHP bug where someone didn't do they're escaping on their code. And remember, these things are also going to be, you could do it on federated servers, that one of them is running in Linux, another one's FreeBSD, another one could be a Windows ASP server. There's a lot of stuff that can be done here.
So it really seems like what this strategy works to do is to take the only meaningfully centralized point in the entire Bitcoin lifecycle, which is, if you have a wallet, if you have a personal wallet, then it's probably on, your computer, or maybe, you're security conscious, and it's on, it's on a little flash drive or something that you only plug in, or on an offline computer. But there's still that centralized point of failure where if you have one computer hacked, or you lose one key or whatever, then it's an issue. But with this, it seems like this isn't technology that'll just be used for transactions, but it seems like it's going to make sense for the big exchanges to get on board with this, and for Mt. Gox to pioneer something like this, or anybody else, to fund the first 100 servers, so they can guarantee that even if you're hacked, it's just not going to happen, because nobody's going to hack that many servers.
Yes, exactly. And it's not just a hack either. Think of this: seizure. Okay.
Absolutely.
Someone comes in and grabs all of the MT Gox. Someone goes into where's MT? Aren't they in Hong Kong or something?
Yeah, they're. I think they're in Japan. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so someone goes into MT Gox data center, and I remember hearing about their data center, how that when the hack was happening, that they couldn't go in to stop something on the physical servers because they did not have access to their data center after the hours of before or after the hours of 9 to 5. So let's just say that someone just walked in and grabbed all their servers. Okay, at that point, what are you going to do? I mean, even if they had encryption on some of their servers, but they give up the goods on because of a court order, and they say, okay, here's access to all the system. Now, a hack is not just happening from some teenager in Russia running some script kiddie running some scripts. Hacks are done by governments, and a hack can be just a political hack, and that's where some police officer games the system in order to seize a bunch of funds, a big fat wallet, whether it's physical gold. We see that happening constantly, regularly in the United States, and then now these wallets. So now, if someone says, we get his machine, man, we got all his gold. Okay, no, in this system, you're going to have to get all the machines. So there's some. I'm sure that listeners are going to have a lot of questions on this, and this post that I read for the comments, this was actually from June 22nd, the Bitcoin thing. And since that time, Fellow Traveler has made significant progress. A lot of stuff is happening. So do a Google on open dash transactions and Fellow Traveler, and you're going to find a lot of stuff going on with the low trust server. So keep an eye out for that. Yes,
indeed. So I mean, yeah, I'm I'm glad that there genuinely seems to be something workable in the works, because there have been a lot of different solutions proposed for this, but most of them have been about centralizing. Most of them have been about making sure that you keep bitcoins in cold storage that you're not going to use, or trying to close all the vulnerabilities so you can't be hacked as easily or seized as easily, what have you. But this is a completely outside the box solution that that looks like it genuinely could just completely change the game.
Yeah, well, one little point I'll bring up here, because it is very fascinating and mind-blowing if you think about it, is that right now if you want to put up some type of a financial service that's running a Bitcoin system, you have a lot of your threat model is very high, because people are looking, where's the server located? Oh, okay, in this system. This is why I said it makes it possible to run OT servers on a network, on anonymous networks at a profit. Okay, so what this means, is imagine that you can go out there and you can get a VPS, and you can get VPSs sometimes for $6 a month. Okay, and in countries all over the world, there's a virtual private server. It's not a dedicated server, and it's also not shared web hosting. It's a virtual machine inside of a regular dedicated machine shared with tens or hundreds of other people. Okay, now.
Right.
A lot of people don't want to put stuff on a shared web server that has financial stuff involved with it. And the same thing, you don't want to even put it on a VPS, because sometimes stuff can happen with you usually want to put it on a machine that you control. And even if you get a dedicated server at a data center somewhere, that machine can still be confiscated or hacked into with an evil maid attack. And there's a lot of stuff that can happen. You can't really trust too much that you don't have complete 100% physical access and control and observation over at all times. So in this system, what you're saying is that you can actually, if I wanted to put up a lot of servers in a bunch of, let's say these pools start popping up. You know how they have these mining pools?
Mm-hmm.
Where you don't have to mine for something on your own. You can join a cooperative. You're going to be able to join an MT Gox cooperative on the network. And that means you can take a server and put it out there, and then tie it in with the MT Gox pool of distributed servers for all their Bitcoins or any other service, and actually gain money from being part of that pool, and you don't have to give a damn whether your machine is compromised or not.
Right, because it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter, one, if it's seized. Two, it doesn't matter if it's compromised. So this is actually kind of mind-blowing, because what this starts to happen is that you can there's a financial incentive now for people to go out and use up and buy cheap hardware in cheap data centers in places that normally you would never want to put up a server, and not care whether it's confiscated or shut down, because you're just going to make money for it sitting there doing hardcore crypto cypherpunk transactions that normally you don't want to have inside of only a bunker. So the economics then changes to the economics of actually doing darknet services. So this goes a long way without getting into it. So it's exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting. Well, I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to it. We should definitely get an update from fellow traveler on how that's going.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah. So I think this is the last thing before we go. I just real quickly want to talk about Bruce. I want to talk about Bruce Wagner, because there's a lot of stuff being said about him, and Bruce may be a lot of things, and you may not like him personally, but I genuinely don't think that what's being said about him is a very fair characterization, and he may have some history behind him, but it's what am I trying to say here? It takes a lot to put yourself out there, and Bruce is a self-promoter, as it's very easy to see, but that's really seems to be all it is. So don't be too tough on the guy, listeners out there.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's what I got.
Okay, I had just had a couple of quick little things I can
Tommy,
what
do you got?
Through. A lot of people know about this. Nefario posted it originally on the Bitcoin forums. Keep an eye out for a lot of Trojan virus type systems out there. They're becoming quite popular. Several of them have been found, and God only knows how many are out there that people don't know about. And they're these things that get into your system and they steal your wallet. So in the past, the big focus on a lot of the virus systems was on phishing for getting your banking passwords and your login details for any type of financial systems that you may be involved with. Now these guys are going after just stealing your wallet. And usually the wallets are stored in a standard place and with a standard file name. And these guys, if they write something, they go in there, they steal that thing, and they just take it away. So he says, don't install anything linked to on this forum, on the Bitcoin forum, unless it's been found by someone with a good reputation. And he says, assume everything is an attempt to steal your wallet. So I think that's a nice little caveat that you need to watch out for and to live by is right now, if you have Bitcoin on your system, assume that any type of virus and strange websites or attachments and things like that, be very careful because a lot of people are getting burned with their wallets taken.
Because it's easy, because most people, because encrypting your wallet is an extra couple of steps. So supposedly we're getting new features coming reasonably soon. I saw the talk that Gavin did at the Bitcoin conference, and he talked about the next version coming with encrypted transactions and password control and stuff like that. So that'll be an extra layer. Another thing, I guess, on the subject of viruses is there's a lot of concern right now going around about like botnet viruses that take control of your computer and use it to mine for Bitcoins for somebody else. Those concerns have been really overblown. The Trojan concern about getting your wallet stolen or getting your data stolen, that's a real thing that you need to be concerned about. But as far as the mining stuff goes, because of the ramp in difficulty, it really makes it so that's not terribly profitable. But even if you do get like a really advanced version of the virus, where like it takes control of your GPU, it's really easy to see that your computer is acting funky, and then just check through your whatever, and see what applications are running, and you'll see it pretty quick. The one that's going around right now is called .badminer. So if you see that, then that's one you're going to want to end and try to get rid of.
Yeah, the other thing is you can keep an eye out for your on your power bill, and if you see a huge spike.
Yeah, that's a longer term one. If you see a huge spike, then you're already losing pretty substantially.
Yeah, right. Okay. Next thing here, we'll be doing this on more future shows, announcing different events and special podcasting, live events, and streaming things related to Bitcoin. There's a European Bitcoin conference happening November 25th to 27th in Prague, and I don't know too much about it, but maybe it sounds interesting, especially if you're not interested in going to Thailand.
I don't believe is that one being put on by Wagner as well, or is that someone else?
I'm not exactly.
I don't think that's Wagner. No. I might be wrong, but.
Looking forward to seeing you in Prague. Mitchell Byrne and team, organizers of the European. They're at on Twitter at BitGroups and conference.bitgroups.org #Eurobit. So
yeah, exactly.
We'll be announcing.
Yeah, we'll be announcing that, and it's all. Also, that's something else to keep in mind here is that if you live in a locality where you think that Bitcoin has some potential, there is absolutely nothing stopping you from doing exactly what these folks and what Wagner did before them, which is just saying, oh well, I'm making a Bitcoin conference. This is it. It's an official Bitcoin conference because it's a totally decentralized network. So all that it takes in order to do that is to just say it and then do it. And if it's good, then people will go to your next one. So
yeah.
Well, so I think that everybody should do that. Yeah, we should do that, but everybody else should do that too. We need as many Bitcoin conferences as we can get. Because that'll make them all really cheap.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, also our good old buddy Sneak from the Darknets, he gave a presentation on digital cash and Bitcoin, quite technical, not necessarily doing math on the screen, but quite technical, not necessarily a beginner. It's a presentation called Financing the Revolution. It was given at the Chaos Communications Camp 2011 in Berlin. And recently, Friday on August 12th. And if you do a Google for CCC Sneak Bitcoin, you pull it up or search in the Bitcoin things.
Sure.
So that's an interesting little video that I was recommended, and Sneak is our buddy. And then this last thing, why don't you take on this InstaWallet. They came out with these point-of-sale tools, and it's open source. You want to?
Oh yeah, I mean this is just a real quick bullet point, but yeah, so I mentioned that Mt. Gox is coming out with a point of sale tool as well. But that's the great part about these decentralized fucking networks is that you've also got all of these others. So InstaWallet has I think that's a bedroom company where the guy programs out of his bedroom, and they've got a functioning phone-based point-of-sale system where you can, if you get a store to install this, all they need is a little a computer hooked up to two monitors, and then they can use it just like a credit card machine is used now, except instead of swiping your credit card, you just take a picture and then do the payment, and it processes very, very quickly because of the because they use a system that they call green accounts, right? That's what they're called, green wallets.
Green address technique, yeah.
Green address, there you go, green address. And basically what that is those are like verified accounts where they're accounts that are held with InstaWallet. So if the vendor has an account with InstaWallet and the customer has an account with InstaWallet, and InstaWallet knows how much is in both of those accounts because they're the ones managing the accounts, then they can vouch for the person making the payment as long as they see that the transaction has been made. They don't have to wait for any confirmations. So that's what their real selling point on that system is. And again, it's open source, so if you think you can improve it, then you can take the source and do whatever you want with it and use it freely.
Yeah, it's up. You can find it up on GitHub. You can do a search on the net for a green address -POS -tools by JAVGH. That's where the source code is. I think he may have an actual website on this also, but I'm just giving the source page on GitHub. And now, paint us a picture real quick because we flew through this. So what you're saying is that if I get this software, I can install it on a computer, and do I need like a camera or?
Yeah. So in theory here, based on the very short video that I watched on it, that just gave a real brief demonstration of it in action. Basically, if I buy something for some nominal amount of money in US dollars, and I say I want to pay with Bitcoin, then the vendor types in the amount in US dollars. The system goes and checks against the current exchange rates. Then on the screen that I, as the customer, can see, it shows a big QR code that I take a picture of with my phone. Or if I don't want to take a picture of it with my phone, it also has payment information there, and you can just type it in, with any sort of phone wallet or phone payment application. Which, if they're not out, we're going to be seeing a lot more of those coming out.
Okay, hold on. Wait, yeah, but the picture here is of a physical. So I have a physical store. And
yes.
Like these guys down in downtown New York, there's a deli down there that accepts Bitcoin. You can walk in and you can, and people say, well, what use is Bitcoin? I can't eat it. Well, you can. You can go down in New York right now, and I guess there's several places where you can buy a sandwich. So this is the target market for this is some type of physical store, coffee shop.
Well, the target market for this is every store.
Yeah,
I mean that's what this comes down to. Yes.
Yeah.
Physical stores. Yeah, this is the the web implementation is already done and is already easy. That's simple. If you're sitting at a computer, then that's not a problem. The problem is that there are transaction times that you have to deal with. So like if if you're using a system where it's going to take 30 minutes in order to verify the payments, then either either you're using a third-party service to ameliorate that risk, or the vendor is taking on a lot of that risk by saying, okay, well, I'll trust that this is going to clear and you're not going to double spend. Or at the same time, the other option is you create an uncomfortable situation by saying, okay, well, pay at the beginning of your meal and then go eat your food and then come back and make sure that it processed through or something like that. So what this allows you to do is not really do any of that. It's easy as long as everybody is involved on the same server. But again, it's easy because everyone's involved on the same server. So again, federated servers will totally clean up this transaction. Will totally make it so that you don't have to take any of the risks that you currently take by doing something like this.
Yeah, interesting. Great. This is great to see because a lot of people are starting to physically take these things, and there's the problem of I come up to the cash register, and what, you want to pay in Bitcoin? Okay, what's your Bitcoin address? What, I got to type that in? Or I say, send me your Bitcoin address? Or, there's the whole handshake mechanism and using the QR code with the built-in cameras of the of your portable devices, and this is great. I like where this is going.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. So any other topics on your end?
No, I hit through everything. I think this was great for our first show. I thank all the listeners for listening in, and we plan on giving you a weekly update, and you can be regularly caught up with the latest and greatest and most interesting things going on with Bitcoin. I'm Hero.
And I'm Indy.
See you next week on Agorist Radio for episode 2 of Coinbase.
What a fun trip down memory lane that was, wasn't it? The more things change, the more they stay the same. For listeners from letstalkbitcoin.com, your magic word for this episode is Coinbase. That's Coinbase. Coinbase. You can go to letstalkbitcoin.com to redeem the magic word for your share of this week's LTB Coin Proof of Participation points. Thanks for tuning in to the first special episode of P2P Connects Us. Your regularly scheduled programming will be back next week. Till next time.